Salute. It's what is it? It's I don't know. Friday. I'm so sorry. That thing's coming on the screen. Who the hell knows? Hello everybody. I'm Russ Kane, and yes, my hair has gone red. I don't know what the hell. I don't know what's going on. I got no idea. I don't know. Welcome to the Friday show on the Midday show at 12:30. We will be joined by Her Serene Popcornness, the silver screen goddess of Wandsworth, Chantal Rickards OBE. I'm in a very weird mood today. You probably noticed. Very, very. First of all, I woke up looking like, I don't know, Lord Snooty in his pants. I don't know what it is. Anyway, cheers, everybody. Cheers. That's better. Okay. The second espresso of the day, or is it the third? Don't know. I'm in a very no Phil Dave. I get a message about 11:15. His cravat had a crease. His cravat had a crease. He couldn't make it. He refused to appear because there was a slight. I said, "Take your cravat off." No, he would not. All right. I'll tell you why I'm in such a very, very nostalgic mood. Okay. So yesterday I went back to school, which was an epic journey for me, emotionally and physically. It's just a bloody long way, frankly. But I decided not to drive, and I took trains and overland train thing. I haven't been on that particular line. I think Southeastern or something. I don't know. Not much of a train guy. Since I was a teenager, back in the last century, and but I remember I was sitting on that train and going, my God, this has changed, because last time I was on that line, and some of you will relate to this, it had a corridor, an individual carriage. You know, you open the door, and you sat in your individual carriage. It was going down from Victoria down to Dulwich. Anyway, I went back to Dulwich College yesterday, and because I was invited to a preview. Ooh, did you sleep with your... Now, Nigel, you're not wrong. I was basically channeling my inner Minnie Caldwell. What the hell? Just look, I think I might get it cut today. It just looks ridiculous. RVB, hello to you. Horologist to the stars. Not a proctologist, because otherwise you get a clock rammed up your ass, and that would be very unpleasant, especially when the cuckoo struck every hour. Yeah. Right. Okay. Back to school. So I get this invitation to go and have a preview, missus, of an exhibition they're putting on at Dulwich, of exactly my era when I was there a very, very long time ago, back in the 60s, of music and revolution, which is two things always been very close to my heart. And I went round, my pal Patrick Humphreys. If you're a rock fan, you will know he's one of the best authors. Patrick's like the bravest guy. I've known Patrick since we were 13, 14, something like that. Could have been a bit earlier, but we've been, friends for well over half a century. Jesus, kill me now. And he's one of the bravest guys I know. Whenever I think, well, my life's a bit shit, this isn't going right, that's not going right, that's an issue, and I think, look what Patrick endures. I'm going to talk about this just for a sec. It's a slight diversion, okay? When Patrick was a kid at school, he got cancer. He's very open about this. It's not a secret. He got cancer, and they took off his leg. And in those days, although it seems crazy, the medicine and the medical knowledge wasn't where we are today. It would have been much more gentle today. It wouldn't have been so brutal today, but it was. And he has, it's really bad. I mean, it was bad what they did. They had to do it to save his life. But he never let adversity stand in his way. And he's become one of the best writers about rock music, pop music, ever. You know, and I guess two of the best is Leslie Ann Jones, I've known since the 70s, and Patrick, who I've known since the 60s. They're just mine. And Patrick was there, and he was instrumental in putting all this together. And the reason I talk about it is because when I do my stand-up show, I tell some anecdotes. And over the years, you think, well, maybe I'm kind of misremembering. Wonderful American phrase for lying. Your truth, Meghan and Harry. It's your truth. No, it's bollocks. It's just a lie, isn't it? Anyway, so I thought, well, maybe I'd misremembered some of this because it was so long ago. And then when I saw the exhibition, I realized everything that I thought was true was true. And some of the stories I tell in the stand-up, 100% true. And this exhibition just blew me away. It's not huge, but out of our year in school came Roxy Music. Yeah, Roxy Music, Phil Manzanera. Phil Manzanera, who I've known since we were at school, one of the greatest guitarists in the world, acknowledged, you know, I don't know, I can't play, no, I can play E and A. And I can play D. I can play E, D, and A. That's it. That's what I can play on the guitar because I always drummed. And all the names were there. Then I looked and there was my name. And I was like, oh my God. And suddenly I was like 16 again. Do you ever get that? Is nostalgia a good thing? Let me know, because the comments will come through and I'll put them up. Let's have a conversation. Is it okay? It was overwhelming. It was absolutely overwhelming to see this, see the rejection letters that Phil Manzanera had got before he joined. He'd auditioned for Roxy and it didn't work out, and then he auditioned again. There was Phil's first guitar that he got on HP, hire purchase for you kids listening. He got it on HP, right? And the HP company said, sent him a really shitty letter saying, if you don't pay it up, we're taking the guitar back and everything. It was his very first guitar. He needed this. And there he was in the case at school, in the library. It was just great. It was just seeing all this stuff, seeing these pictures. If you're very hip, you'll know a band called Matching Mole. And they were called Matching Mole because, again, we were all in kind of the same class together and we're playing various bands in school together because they were crazy. I quite liked them, but they were obsessed with a band called Soft Machine. Some of you may remember Soft Machine. Some of you are like, is it Taylor Swift? I don't know, otherwise. Yeah, it was called Soft Machine. And they were nothing if not pretentious, which we all were back then. And they loved French. So the French for Soft Machine is Machine Mole. So they called themselves Matching Mole. It was an intellectual joke. Anyway, they did pretty good. And then there was a chap called Mark Pritchett, who I was at school with. I think Mark was he in my class 1 year below me? I think maybe he was a year below me. Anyway, not the point. Point is that he got a knock on the door and there's a bloke. I need a guitar. Can I borrow it? I know you got, right? And he lent this bloke the guitar. The bloke was David Bowie. Yeah. And the guitar features on the famous album cover. There's I think it's a red guitar, and that's Mark Pritchett. And Bowie brought it back the next day, said, thank you so much. I needed it for a photo shoot. It was so much more organic then. It was so much more fun. Do you hark to the... I don't want to live there. I'd hate to be... God. In 2025, I would hate to be a teenager. Absolutely hate it. I'm kind of pleased I am the age I am because I... every day. Like, Christ. Can't they see what's going on? But it was a nostalgic blast and beautiful to see all these letters. And we used to do a thing in the summer called the Summer Miscellany. It was the big summer concert. And it was great to see. I looked through the program thinking, who's on? I thought, oh my God, there's me. That was me. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, Do you like nostalgia? Do you think it should just stay in the past? What do you think? I'm going to do a Stephen Crowder and take a slurp. Okay. So I never know if it's a good thing. Do we look through life and think it was rose-colored glasses? Please, of any glasses these days, to be honest. Do you think it's like rose-colored glasses, or these are my prescription ones? They're not the fancy ones. These are my for real reading. Do you like the past? Were you happy with the past? What would you change? What would you change about the past? I'll tell you what I'd change. I'll be very honest. I'll tell you what I'd change. I did my A-levels, did my A-level mocks. This is the one thing that to this day still haunts me. Weird, huh? Bear with. And my A-level mocks were terrible. I was taking English, history, and French, and the results were rubbish. And I was down to read English at King's College, Cambridge. Is that right? Is it King's College? Yeah, King's College, Cambridge. I was down to read English at King's College, Cambridge. And that's all I ever wanted to do. I wanted to read English. My dream was to go to Oxbridge, Cambridge particularly, and be a writer. That was it. That's all I ever wanted to do since I was 7, right? Anyway, King's College, Cambridge writes back to the head of my English department, the great. Now, Graham, I don't want to be rude, but the next time I see you, I'm just going to bitch slap you. That's it. Wasn't my hair better? Well, it looks ridiculous. I don't know what the hell. Look, if I do that, it life of its own. I mean, it kind of looks like Jay Leno. Jay Leno meets Liberace. I don't know what the hell it is. And hello, Julie Voice. How are you doing? Are you coping? Julie Voice, formerly of Houston, Texas, now of Guildford, Surrey. Right? No, my hair was better. Yeah, my hair was good. I didn't. Anyway, look, doesn't matter. Anyway, so thank God I've got it. Right? That's what I say at my age. You kidding? Thank God I got it. So I wanted to read English. Blah, blah, blah. King's College, Cambridge, wrote back to my head of English, Laurie Jagger, the great Laurie Jagger, and said, this guy, forget it. It's rubbish. So that was it. And then everything in those next few weeks and months came together, right? Came together. And I got an A in English, and I got an A in history, and I think I got a B or a C in French. Okay. And I was on fire. And the head of English said, right, you should stay and take the scholarship to go to King's College. You'd get it. You'd get the scholarship. Stay the extra 12 weeks. Stay that extra Michaelmas term, Christmas term. Stay for the scholarship exam, and you can go to Cambridge the next year. Now, I'd been at boarding school for 9 years, right? 9 years. And I couldn't wait to leave. And when you're a kid, you make shitty decisions because you're a kid, right? And I thought, 12 weeks? 12 weeks? Another 12 weeks here? No, I will not stay. It's the worst decision I ever made. So it was stupid. It was a terrible mistake. But there you go. And I ended up reading law at the LSE, London School of Economics, and political science, which I loathed from day one. Loathed it. I loathed the place. I loathed the people, the student, everything. I hated it. Just wasn't me at all. Just was not me. But I'd been away at boarding school for 9 years. So I just wanted to get on with my life. Stupid me. My classmate, who made the right decision and stayed for the extra 12 weeks, is now Sir Peter Bazalgette. There but for fortune. So what do you regret? So what are we talking about today? We're talking about what do you regret from the past? That's such a dumb thing. And also the other thing, of course, I regret ever is having anything to do with the music industry. The worst mistake. That was a terrible nightmare. And I can't even really listen to music anymore. Seriously. That's how badly it affected us. So what do you regret from the past? What do you wish you could redo? Right? Regrets are no good. You know, there's nothing you can do about it. You kind of want it. I'm just curious. All right, I'm nosy. All right, face it. I'm just being bloody nosy, but yeah, that's what I do, right? Okay, and because somebody else told me, what the hell is the Traitors about? Is it just me? I don't. My daughter is crazy about. Oh, she says the Traitors. You love it. It's fantastic. It's kind of murder. Is it called wink murder? Wink murder? Murder wink? I don't know. One of the two for grown-ups. And I think, can't be bothered. You know, it's just a lot of people that I'm not interested in being emotional. Don't care. Don't care. What do we think about Meghan and Harry wandering around Los Angeles like they're, Mother Teresa and God? Jesus. Every time you think, well, they can't go any lower. I mean, they just can't. Ghoul tourists, disaster tourists. It's just finished. Just finished. I just don't care. What have you been watching that you like? Are you still in touch with your school friends? I keep seeing these things come up on Twitter and Facebook. Do you have any friends you've known more than 9 years? And I'm like, duh. Yeah. I was chatting this morning to the guy who's probably my oldest friend. His name's Anthony Frankfurt. And he was sending me silly messages. And we realized we've known each other since we were 9. We were in the same dormitory at boarding school when we were 9 years old, and we're still friends. And the thing about it is, we still laugh. We still laugh so much. We see each other. We just start laughing. He's just a great guy. Right, let's see what the Pac-Man says. I messed up my A-levels and didn't get the right grades. I had to go to my second choice university, which only lasted 1 year before being chucked out. So maybe I should have studied a bit more. The thing is, the A-levels come at a time when you're discovering life and there's girls and there's parties and you're discovering booze and it's all terribly exciting and your hormones are running wild. And the last thing you bloody want to do is sit there of an evening reading books that at the time you find very, very boring. It was a weird thing. It was the most confident I ever felt with my English A-level. It's weird. I can remember the feeling now. I thought there is no question that they can ask me that I can't answer. I knew the texts and I knew it inside out, back to front. If I'd have known it the right way, it might have helped. It's the only time in my life I ever felt like that, because otherwise I think, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? And that's why when I'm doing the celebrant work, I check, I recheck, I stop the car, I open up my folder to make sure I've got all the right paperwork. I know I've checked it probably 6 times, make sure I pack the right stuff. And I will stop the car sometimes on the journey to the crematorium or to the cemetery or the wedding or whatever it might be, or the baby naming or the vow renewal, and make sure I've got the right stuff. That's how it's not OCD. It's like you don't trust yourself. Do you trust yourself? Do you wish you'd studied harder at school? I did the best that I could. Some subjects I couldn't get at all. I couldn't get the sciences. I didn't understand them at all. I just couldn't follow them. I kind of vaguely understood physics a bit. Chemistry, I never understood the basis of any chemical equation. Of course, they thought you were idiots. But when it came to English, it never felt like work. I didn't understand how people, I guess the scientists thought, well, why can't he understand chemical equations? And I'm thinking, well, why can't you understand this? This is English. It's easy. There's nothing to it. It's a doddle. It's a walk in the park. Which is, we're good at what we're good at and we can't do what we can't do. And that's it. And we should just accept it. I do think most of education is an utter waste of time. They should teach you the proper things of life. Seriously. Anybody out there watching and listening all over the world, especially France and America, have you ever used algebra? You ever used trigonometry? You ever used logarithms, sines, cosines? No, of course you bloody haven't, unless you're an architect or something, which is like nobody. So, I just don't understand why they teach this stuff. It's based on the Victorian based on the Victorian values of what was necessary then. It's not necessary now. It wasn't necessary in the 20th century. It's not certainly not necessary in the 21st century. They should teach you life skills. They should teach you budgets, budgeting. They should teach you balancing accounts, basic life skills like banking. This is what happens if you run out of money. This is what happens if you borrow money. This is what interest charges mean. Really basic, simple stuff. Here's your income. Here's your rent. Here's your shopping. Can you afford X, Y, and Z? No. This is it. Graham, we would vote for you tomorrow. In fact, I'd vote for you this afternoon. Graham Pack says this: I failed my A-level economics. Does that make me a good candidate as Chancellor of the Exchequer? Just beef up your CV like she did, and you'd be a shoo-in. She won't last. What is the matter with our Prime Minister? Firstly, is he ever in the country? No. Does he ever answer a question? Does he ever give a... Is he just a pathological liar? I'm serious. People are now beginning to think, do you know what? We know it's politics, so we know it's all bullshit because they're politicians. But have we ever seen such a grade A absolute liar as this? I don't like politicians. I think they're all... If you think that I'm here just bashing him because he's Labour, I just think they're ghastly. I don't know how they're going to last another 4.5 years. I don't care about them. I care about us. How the hell we're supposed to last, what, another 4.5 years of this absolute car crash? God knows. God only knows. And here's the thing, right? So Graham's talking about economics. I was saying, teach kids basic housekeeping skills. I don't mean dusting and cleaning and that. Switch on a washing machine or something. I'm talking about, your weekly budget. Simple stuff, right? You get your bank statement in, how you read a bank statement. People don't know. I'll give you an example. So my kids both went to university. One went to Oxford, one went to Bath. And, another one went to, where did he go? Reading, the one who lives in America. He went to Reading. And they all did good. And then one day, not long ago, and they're brain boxes, right? They're not like me. They're serious brain boxes. And one of the kids, who's an engineer, said, got to write an envelope. I thought he was taking the piss. Right? I go, yeah? Well, I don't know what to do. And I looked at him. I thought, you've had like a fantastic education. You're smart as hell. Doesn't know how to write an envelope. And then I thought, why should he? Why should he know how to write? We know how to write an envelope. We're of a certain age. We used to write letters. But you realize, so they're 26 now, the little ones, they're 26. Why would they know how to write an envelope? How would they know where the stamp goes? Good question from Graham Pat. You're on fire today, boy. Is Starmer a tax exile only allowed in the country? God knows. I think there's several words I could use to describe him. Tax exile isn't one. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Do they just rely on the fact that the British are very patient and the worst we do is tut very loudly? If it was like South America or somewhere, they'd be rioting in the streets, right? And I'm just wondering, is it like because they just think we're so patient, put a bit of reality TV on, knock a penny off a pint, everything will be fine? Or do they truly think there comes a point when you push people so far that there's a reaction? I keep going on and on about it. You lose faith in your politicians of all sides of the house. You lose faith in the police. How many of you still have faith in the police? Maybe it's a very London thing. I don't want this to be London-centric. I don't know what it's like where you live. Maybe out of London it's better. Maybe, crimes are solved, etc., etc. So you lose faith in your governments and your politicians. You lose faith in the police because you think they're not on your side. You really lose faith in the judicial system. Where do you go? What do you do? I keep saying it's like a Kafkaesque nightmare. When Franz Kafka wrote his play, I played the Icky Newman Fly. What the hell's the name of the play? God knows. Maybe it was Brecht. I don't know. Anyway, thing is, look, someone's done their hair extra beautifully today to show me up. I look like a freaking idiot. She looks stunning. Giving you a preview now. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to get it cut. Looks stupid. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm bringing her on early because she looks so fantastic and she's always interested, and I want to talk about that. Don't tell me to do that. That's rude and physically impossible. Dirty cow. Ladies and gentlemen, you know her, you love her. The supremely intelligent, articulate, and immaculate Chantal Rickards OBE.
No, you make me feel really, really like a dullard because you're so much more intellectually in the space than I am. I know how clever
I'm not in your space. I'm not in Wandsworth.
I know how clever you are, and I am not worthy.
Oh, don't be daft. Don't be daft. This was such a great. Did you used to like Roxy Music? Did you ever like them as a band?
Loved Roxy Music.
Yeah. So yeah, that was Phil. That was my house captain of swimming, and I know. And to see his jackets and all his letters, and there's going to be an event which you'd be very welcome to come to, by the way, in I think it's March, and Phil is going to be interviewed along with somebody else, Bill McCormick. And
wow.
Yeah, with Bill McCormick, because he was at school. We were all at school together. And Phil is the most charming. You know how you deal with all these A-listers, certainly when you lived in Hollywood, and some of them are lovely and some of them are utterly revolting. And Phil, arguably one of the greatest rock guitarists, is just so charming and quiet, and what a nice man.
I have to
nice to hear that.
Somebody should map across all the students from your year at the school that you went to, because there was obviously something in the water that year. It's a lot of very clever people who came out and had really interesting careers in so many different areas. It's amazing.
Yeah, I know. It's somebody said to me last night, do you remember Somerville? Because we were only known by our surnames, of course. There was no first names. I went, yeah, I was Somerville. Yeah. What happened to him? Well, his vice rear admiral is like one of the most senior people in the. I went, what, Somerville? But he's running our navy.
That's hilarious.
And then there's other people you think, I remember him. He's governor of the Bank of England. And you just look down and you think.
Well, that was, I think, Eddie George. Was that Eddie George?
Yeah, Eddie George.
Yeah, and Sir Peter Bazalgette I saw at BAFTA yesterday.
Baz Boy, yeah.
Yeah.
Who I've known Baz since we were 9. I mean, just ridiculous. And do you know he hasn't changed? It's fascinating. He's just a grown-up version of the 9-year-old that we were back then. Have you had a slight trim? It's very nice. Am I allowed to ask that? I know they wouldn't do it on my TV. Get arrested.
A slight trim since you and I were last on the radio together.
Right.
But not since last week.
No.
So I think this.
But I was funeralling last week.
You were funeralling. You were.
I was funeral. Yeah. I've got it's an interesting thing, and I've got to you before we get into all your movies and TVs. I've got a funeral coming up early next week. Young guy. Very successful, just won 2 huge television awards.
Wow.
Huge television awards for the Tattooist of Auschwitz, as it happens, which is, he just won 2 huge awards. Turns to my client, his partner, and goes, isn't this wonderful? We've got everything we want, clutches his chest and drops dead. So my point is, and I feel this more and more, enjoy every day.
Yeah.
Enjoy, please, I know you do. I try to. But gang, please enjoy every day. You just don't know. And I'm not telling tales out of school. It's all going to be in the eulogy, but they'd bought their dream house. They were at the top of their game with these 2 massive awards. Everything was going great. And he clutched his chest in the middle of a conversation. Just wept.
No,
it's the way I'd like to go rather than a lingering illness. That's not the point. The point is just enjoy every day.
Yeah.
Because what I've noticed, and you're a lot younger than I am, is I would say 90 to 95% of the funeral, and I'm busy with these funerals. I also do weddings and other things, by the way, but people have a habit of dying. I would say 90, 95% are younger than me.
Wow, that's
I would say most are younger than me. It is the rarity is people you think, oh, well, that's a fair innings.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's fair dues. You're in your late 80s. You're in your 90s. Okay. No one lives forever. But boy, oh boy, 50s, 60s.
That's also very tough because it makes it much more difficult for you to write something that doesn't feel like the person was cheated in some way and doesn't feel sort of cranky at their departing. If they're 80 or 90, you go, well, sort of fair game.
You've had a good time.
40s, 50s,
but do you know what? It's interesting. The end is you all end up in the same place. You end up on the catafalque. That's it. Yeah. So the last 2, one was a dustman for 40 years. Really? One was a fireman for 30 years. And before that, one was on the Nobel Committee as one of the leading biophysicists in the world.
Good Lord.
You're all in the same place. And you're all loved or not loved. And ultimately, it's what's your legacy, who loves you and who doesn't. And that's it. There's nothing more to it. It's just that, I mean,
you were talking about nostalgia earlier, which, I find nostalgia a really sort of interesting subject because you can either take it on board or not. And I think nostalgia is fine. The thing that I think is utterly pointless is regret.
Oh,
because there's literally nothing you can do about it. No, and to me, it's just, it seems like a completely sort of pointless thing to even bother delving into in some way. It's just,
you can't help it. It's funny enough, often with Neil Long, he and I talk about this on the sort of Monday and Wednesday shows. And it's that 3 o'clock in the morning thing. Why? There's nothing you can do. It's done. It's in the past. You can't unpick it. You can't unravel it, and you can't make it better. It's just done.
Yeah.
And it sounds so trite and easy to say, let it go.
Yeah.
No, when you we're human. We can't.
Yeah, you were asking about things that you wish you'd done better. In my mind, I was sort of going, well, I should have done this better. And clearly, exams. I still get, nightmares about exams or dreams about exams.
Yeah.
And I was going down that rabbit hole with you, and then I thought, don't do this because there is simply nothing you can do about it. So I sort of withdrew from the conversation you were having because I thought, this is getting me absolutely nowhere. I've got to look forward and not look back.
But isn't it interesting? People look at other people's lives and go, wow, I wish I could be Chantal Rickards. Look what she did. And she did all this and she's achieved. But I bet you don't think, well, I could have done that better. I could have done this. It was okay. I bet. You don't sit there, anything we do, and go, yeah, we're terrific. Loads of people do. They think they're bloody marvelous.
No, I was sitting around my supper table last night with 3 people that I went to university with, who are so much more clever than I am, and have had fantastic careers. Not famous careers, but really, really good careers in medicine and teaching. And I am completely in awe of what they have done with their careers. Because to me, medicine and teaching are way more important than the sort of frivolous stuff that I do.
I had a great boss when I worked in America. His name was Larry Aladort. And he was from California, Larry Aladort. He was so cool. And I learned so much from him. One, never carry change, coins in your pocket. It ruins the line of your trousers. Never have, right? Number two, have one piece of paper on your desk. You can only deal with one thing at a time. So his desk was like the Gobi Desert, one piece of paper. The guy was fantastic. And he and he was like my mentor, and I really looked up to him. We became good friends with his family as well. He was an amazingly cool guy. And he said to me one day, I'm going back a long time, but it stuck with me for decades. He said, you know, Russell, you can come into this world, and I remember his words, that you can be like Albert Schweitzer, if you don't know who that is, pick another name. You can be Mother Teresa. But if that doesn't work out, you might as well just have a damn good time. Yes. And that has been my philosophy since the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, I can't be these wonderful saints, so I might as well just have a damn good time.
I wish you had met my old boss from the 1980s, who was the sort of publicist. He was the leading film publicist in Great Britain, who was just the most fabulous man called Theo Cowan. And every single one of his lines, of his sort of, you know, his bon mot, was just gold. And I wish I'd written them all down, because he was such a sensible human being, but he was so funny and so wry. That, I mean, I now, that is one thing I do regret, is that actually I didn't write a biography of him and gather together all the wonderful things that he had said and how he had taught people along the way. You know, he taught by example. And, you know, if there are some really valuable things I learned from him when I was, you know, in my 20s working for him in Central.
It is. Do you think, I know that's not what you're here to chat about, but do you think we still have people who can mentor? I do a mentoring program for kids. I've talked about it, but do you have people, do you think they're still out there? And I'm not talking about the charity mentor, who you could say that is someone to, if you could aspire to somebody, past or present, who would that be? And say, I would learn from them, or I'd like to meet them and learn.
Wow. God, that's a great question.
Who's in the room? What happened?
I don't know. I mean, I quite like where Jane Fonda's coming from. I think she's a bit of a
Chantal Rickards.
No, she's been her own true self.
Yeah, she had. Give her that. Give her that. She is herself.
And I think, you know, considering that she is 20 years older than you and I, you've got to have some.
Well, maybe you, not me. She wouldn't be alive.
Well, she must be mid-80s. So, you know, you've got to be going some to have been that sort of person who grew up at the end of the 40s and early 50s to have made that sort of impact. I think she's absolutely been true to herself all her life.
Yes, she has. Yes. The interesting thing. Oh, Graham, stop it! Bits of Jane Fonda is her. Stop it, Graham. That's rude. We're talking about her ethos. We're not talking about her physicality. It's a strange thing, you know, Chantal, because I've thought about. I thought I'd like to be Stephen Fry, because to me he's the most elegant, articulate, smart. And then you read his interviews, think he is so messed up. He is more full of self-loathing. He's a fantastic man. I'm in awe of him. But you know, you listen to his. I listened to his wonderful autobiographies and everything like that. He's more full of self-loathing than I am, and that is saying so. He loathes himself, and yet you know, you look at him and you go, "Oh yes." So, Rosemary Jessup, who has a tough life, by the way. In your day, my grandson says to me every day, yes, it was different, but was it better? No, don't mention to any of my USA friends who served in Vietnam. Well, yes, absolutely pointless war, cost 54,000 American lives, and God knows how many hundreds of thousands of Cambodian and Vietnamese. For what? For absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
For nothing.
Yeah, and
and she's referring to Jane Fonda at that point. Yes.
Yeah. But do not forget the 50,000 Americans who fought in Vietnam who committed suicide within, I think, 10 years of coming back. So actually, the death toll wasn't 50,000 GIs; it was 100,000.
Yes, shocking, absolutely shocking, and left them with. It was just terrible. They shouldn't have been there. And the kid. I have one amusing story about the Vietnam War. So I lived in America. And one of my close friends, there was a guy called Bob, who was an overweight lawyer, and he looked like you'd expect an overweight lawyer from New York to look like. He was Bob. And one day, Bob gets the draft papers come through. The draft papers come through, and he is pooping his pants because anybody, if you think I'd be rubbish in the army, Bob would be even worse, right? And so he thinks, oh Christ, so you get a draft number. So he phones up the government agency to see what is the likelihood of him being called up, and if so, when.
Yeah.
And I think his surname was Richards, and they said, Mr. Richards, here's the story. This is word for word. When the Viet Cong are attacking Saks on Fifth Avenue, we'll give you a call. I never forgot.
That is ridiculous.
Thank you so much.
God.
Oh, God.
Talking about Fifth Avenue. Not to drag us to a different place completely, but talking about Fifth Avenue. Tonight, I think at 7 or 7:30 on BBC 4 is the episode of Through the Keyhole that I made 25 years ago with Donald Trump.
Oh, that one. Oh, my God.
And it's
finally
tonight,
on.
It's tonight on BBC 4. The one that I mentioned, well, in fact, you weren't here when I mentioned it last time, I don't think. According to the Daily Mail, it is a very controversial episode, which was news to me.
It's the Daily Mail, obviously.
Absolute news to me. But if you can be bothered to watch it, just think of the person behind the camera saying action and cut was me all those years
ago. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Well done you, because I've heard, off air, and when you've told us stories which I don't think we can repeat, but it was fascinating. I can't wait. I look forward to seeing that. It
comes across very well, so much better than you might imagine. But anyway, there we are. It's for other people to judge, but it does very much feel like rather old-fashioned television from a long, long time ago.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, but I remember the day extremely well.
Now, what have you seen that you've liked recently?
Well, I've seen all sorts of things. It's a bit of a mixed bag this week. I haven't quite finished it, but I've watched 5 of the 6 episodes, which means it's pretty good because it's kept me going. And it's a new Dutch drama on Channel 4. Channel 4 has this sort of category of international dramas that are normally, a Nordic something, but they're all noir something or other. And this is Dutch noir. Exactly, Dutch noir. If there is
cheese drama.
Yeah, cheese drama. Fighting over Edam.
Edam has been stolen. They send in Inspector Clogs to Stop it. Sorry.
No, it's a 6-parter, and it's called Sleepers. And actually, it's surprisingly good. And Sleepers really is just a way of suggesting that there are people who it's about the underworld. It's about bad cops, and it's about bad cops who have gone in to be a policeman and trained as a policeman with the absolute intent of being crooked. So it's rather clever. So there are lots of flashbacks to the lives of these 2 boys who were trained to be criminals from a very young age. And one is now running a drug cartel or a drug gang in Holland, and the other one is his brother, who is a copper. And actually, you shouldn't feel sorry for any of them. You shouldn't want any of them to do better than the other or to come out of the thing unscathed. But actually, it's very well written. And one of the brothers, who is the bent copper, gets dragged further and further and further and further down into the most almighty mess. And actually, it's so well written that you do feel sorry for him. You do side with him because he's trying to do everything to prevent his family being dragged further into this awfulness. So I think it's well written. It's very well acted. A guy called Robert Van Hoog, I think, is the lead, who plays Martin. And it's definitely worth watching if you just want something gritty and taut and where not a word is wasted. This is the thing to watch. It's only a 6-parter. You could watch, pretty quickly over a couple of nights if you wanted.
It rings a bell because there was a British series, and I'm blowed if I can remember what it was, where they did this. What was it? And they put these young guys, and you thought, oh my God, that's exactly what they are. They're crooks who've deliberately gone into the police.
They're sleepers.
They were sleepers.
Yeah.
Have you seen I've got the wrong name of it. I'm going to give it a wrong title. The phony grooming gang story.
Yes, I did.
Did you watch that?
I did. I think I watched
the fake. I think it's called the fake
grooming scam or the fake grooming scandal. Yes,
jeez.
I know.
Wow.
So much of that stuff now.
Wow.
Yeah. And there'll be more and more because you can literally, Donald Trump is banging on about AI continually at the moment. And actually he's right to, because it is something that we all have to, take
Musk is terrified of it. And if Musk is saying, look, for God's sake, wake up, you understand what this is. If he's, he is at the cutting edge of tech.
Yeah.
For goodness sake, wake up, people. Come on.
Yeah. No, I think Trump was talking about it yesterday or the day before because somebody has faked him in an advert for their company. Well, that's not a bloody stupid thing to do, frankly. You can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. But somebody had done it, and clearly Donald Trump is not very happy about it.
The first person to sell his image right for AI, do you know who that was?
No.
Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis, before he got seriously ill as he is now, sold his rights to a company, and they used it in a commercial with his full permission, and he got paid for it. Yeah. And they put him in. And you can't tell. Yeah. Now, this is going back some years, so it's obviously vastly improved. You can't tell it's not him.
Yeah.
You can't. And I got very annoyed, and this is something close to your heart, and especially to mine, with the fires in LA, that horror show, that somebody put this thing, and everyone's going, oh, that's so... And I wrote, this is AI. These aren't real fires. Yeah. And it was. The thing that they'd put together, whoever it was, I mean, God knows, the real footage is, heartbreaking enough. To create AI from it,
I know, it seems odd.
Sick.
Yeah.
It's sick. What do you want to do that for? What's the point?
No, but there's a new film out, which I'm probably not going to recommend on the show, called Here, which is the new Tom Hanks movie that is out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. It's not brilliant, but you see Tom Hanks go from 25 to 65. And of course, you're looking at it thinking that is the actor Tom Hanks who's 25, because the face is perfect. Now, that's just CGI, but you'll see more and more of that in movies because it's going to get much more easy to, and also because with somebody like Tom Hanks who's had a career for 40 years,
you just take the footage,
can map his face from stuff that he made, from Sleeplessly in Seattle or whatever it is. So we're going to see much more of that. In
the first one to do that, and at first it looked weird, and then you got into it, was The Irishman. And I had in The Irishman, you saw De Niro and Pesci and come on, Rosie, and you saw them all,
Pacino,
younger, and it was a little sketchy. The tech was a little sketchy then. Now it's so good.
It's fascinating. Yeah, I think we'll see more and more of it.
But the danger, it's very simple. The danger is some genius does an AI of Putin saying, well, America, I've had enough of you, and I'm launching my missiles in 20 minutes. That's the true danger. It's not us getting scammed. Yeah. It's not somebody being in an advert. It's, oh, Graham. No, you see, he is smooth. He is smooth. Does Chantal really look that useful? Is it? No, she really does look like that useful.
I've got a
it's infuriating, but it's true. But it's true.
No, it's cheap makeup and a good camera.
And the makeup truck, obviously, and CGI. So I see that finally A Real Pain is coming out in the cinema. It's been out. Some people have seen it. I thought it was fabulous. I loved it.
Yes.
Every second of it. We loved that.
We loved it. We chatted about it. We loved it.
We did. People I've seen in America are writing. Lloyd Beanie did the other day. The Brutalist. He couldn't get over it. You and I raved about it. Thought it was fantastic.
And that comes out next week, so we'll have a proper chat about that next week.
Absolutely,
because it comes out next Friday. Yeah,
absolutely so. And the other thing, what else did I see on TV? I'll come back to it anyway. That grooming thing was shocking. Also, the one about the Chaubenet Ramsey, the little girl.
I haven't seen that.
Oh my God!
Somehow I can't bear to watch that. I know that story so well of the young girl who disappeared.
But do you? But
yeah.
I went into it thinking, oh, I know this back to front. Yeah. Oh God, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Oh really?
Oh, it's an absolute revelation.
Okay. All right. I might have to steel myself.
And I'd gone through life. I mean, this is awful. I'm putting my hands out. I thought, well, it had to be the pain. There was some row. Something happened, you know. Of course it wasn't. Of course it wasn't. It was most incompetent police, the most messing up of the crime scene, the refusal to believe the evidence, the refusal to believe the experts. It's shocking.
Okay. And it sounds more interesting then in that case.
It was a fascinating short little series.
Okay.
And the lead detective, he was a good-looking fellow. There's a point why I'm saying this. And he just thought he was a star. He was a horse. He was an absolute horse's ass.
No.
He was an idiot. But, you know, and he wrote the book and he's on TV. Instead of just doing his job. Shocking what they put that family through. And you grew up with, as what's his name? Geraldo Rivera, right?
Yeah.
You know, big moustache and everything.
Big moustache.
You know, a huge star in America. And he did a trial live on his show of the parents.
Oh, that's disgusting. Well, actually, on the same topic.
Shocking.
But on the same topic, one of the shows that I was going to talk about today is the documentary about Jerry Springer on Netflix, which actually, if you're interested in television per se, and also sort of the human condition and how television has possibly manufactured bits of society the way that it behaves currently, which is not necessarily all good, let's face it. The story of the Jerry Springer show, it's a 90-minute documentary on Netflix that came out about 2 weeks ago, cleverly called Jerry Springer Fights Camera Action. And it goes back over the 4,000 episodes that Jerry Springer made. Yeah, 4,000. He did also make a series in the UK, and my friend Nick, who I used to work with, was the producer of it when it came to the UK. I didn't watch the programs, but clearly it was a major television show.
Did.
It was a global phenomenon.
It was huge.
Well, I mean, a lot of the things, I'd never heard of some of these storylines, but in fact, I wrote them down, which was... one program was called I Cut Off My Manhood. One was called My Wife Sleeping with My Aunt. One was called I'm Pregnant by My Brother. And
what was the last one? I'm sorry, I was laughing too much. What was the last one?
I'm Pregnant by My Brother, which is awful.
Oh, Jesus.
And then the last one was a man called Mark who married his horse, who was called Pixel, and they lived together for 10 years. And when you see them
any kids
together, I thought I was going to gag. It's really when the man and the horse start French kissing.
Oh God!
It's the moment you can't unsee. And I'm not sure. I think Jerry Springer, as nice as the man was, and clearly he was clever, he was smart. He had been
born in Hampstead,
in Cincinnati. Clever bloke. I think he has aided the degradation of our society.
Do you remember we met him? Do you remember you and I met him?
Oh, we did.
Yes, we did. You and I met him. He was shy. He couldn't have been nicer. He was lovely.
What? Do you know, I had completely forgotten that.
And there's a lovely picture of me, him, and Keira Knightley, which I used to have up in my loo for ages. God,
really?
Yeah. I don't know where it is.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Back in the day when I had a life. He was absolutely lovely. But it's interesting. You know, we've already mentioned Peter Bazalgette, now Sir Peter Bazalgette,
Yeah.
just Baz to me. And you won't find a more intelligent, articulate person than Baz, right? And yet, when you think of the shows he's created, it's exactly the same as Jerry Springer. Highly intelligent, knowing if we create this, we're going to create an explosion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I say with Baz, apart from everything else, I say look no further than Big Brother, the show exactly. I told him not to buy.
Yeah. No, well, lots of his programs were life enhancing. I don't think Big Brother is one of those things. I mean, I think it's just made us more self-obsessed as people, and I don't think we need that.
Oh,
really.
This is interesting. Coming in from Rosemary Jessup, Jerry Springer was one of the nicest and most genuine people I've ever met. He knew the show was rubbish. I spent a week at the studios backstage.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, and Karen's come on.
Let's see what Karen has to say. It is completely fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the producers that they interview feel very, very damaged by having worked on the show, let alone the people who were the guests on the show. And clearly there are several stories that end very badly. I won't ruin it because it's worth watching.
And yet with these shows, and I'm always naive, we'll come on to your comments in a minute, Karen Shortman. I've naively said, well, where do they find the people? And you realize there's like a 2-year waiting list. People can't wait to spill their garbage. Karen Shortman, my TV recommendation, the 4-part drama Playing Nice on ITV. I'm also enjoying the Joanna Page My Wildlife on BBC Two, where she trains at the Wildlife Aid in Leatherhead.
Oh,
that'd be nice. Yeah, animals. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Playing Nice is quite a scary watch. It's a new drama on ITV with the lovely chap James Norton from Grantchester. Yeah. And there's a horrible. Babies get mixed up.
Oh, in the hospital, they pick up the wrong babies. Is that the deal or something?
Well, sort of. I'm not going to say what happens, but 2 babies end up in the wrong houses, and the story goes from there, but sort of slightly further down the line when the children are a little bit older, and it gets very sinister. It made me feel quite uncomfortable. But I've been having once lost one of my children for probably less than 60 seconds in Sainsbury's. I even have flashbacks about that. I can feel my heart pounding now, even talking about it.
I got lost. Joking aside, you've just triggered a memory which I'd completely forgotten. I got lost on a holiday when I was a very, very little boy.
Oh.
I thought I was following my mum and dad, and my dad turned around. It wasn't my dad. And we were abroad, and I was, I don't know, 6, maybe 7. And I thought, what's the thing to do? I'll go to the police station. So I walked on my own.
Did you?
To the police. I'd forgotten this. Jeez, isn't it weird what you suppress? And I went to the police station. And after about 15, 20 minutes, Mum and Dad came in, slightly pleased to see me. And in my dad's case, probably the last time he was pleased to see. Yeah. But I thought, well, go to the police station. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, that was a very clever thing for a 6-year-old to do.
What's this show? My daughter's going mad about it. Missing You. Is that good? Good? Missing You? Has anyone watched Missing You?
I'm not sure I've seen it.
I was saying it's really, really good. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to have to write it down.
Okay, I don't know.
I may have seen it. I've just simply forgotten about it, but I can't remember.
There's, if you like creepy movies on TV, it's spooky. There's one called Megan. No, not about her. Not about her. You wouldn't drag me to see it. You wouldn't. Unless Bobby Crush was playing Megan, that would be all right. Bless him, he's in New York again. He blitzing musicals, unlike Bobby. Megan, and it's really clever. It's kind of like Frankenstein's story, but it's a little girl. Her parents are killed in an automobile accident, and she goes to her aunt, her sister's kid, and she works in Silicon Valley, sort of thing, in AI for a toy company. She has no parenting skills whatsoever. So she builds a kind of thing to take, because she's not interested. And she's not a nasty person, but she's a single woman. She's probably in her late 20s. She doesn't know about motherhood. And she builds this kind of robot. I'll leave it there.
Oh,
Bloody good. So good they're making Megan 2. But seriously, it was good. It's a nice little film, you know? It's a good little film.
amazing. Okay. All right. Well, good to know.
Oh, hang on. Sorry. Kimmy's coming up. Kimmy Lashmar.
Yes. I've still got one of her recommendations to watch.
Lenny Henry's in this, is he? Was this a joke?
Oh, hang on. I have seen it.
Oh, that must be good then.
I have seen it. And blimey, I cannot remember a thing about it. But now that you say it's got Lenny Henry.
Oh, God. Lenny Henry. Was he lying on a bed going, this is very comfortable?
I'm going to dig it out for next week. I can't remember. I don't think I got to the end of it. And I haven't made any notes on it. But I have seen a couple of the episodes. But for the life of me, I can't remember what it's about at the moment. But I'll come back.
And there was an extraordinary film, and I think it's on Prime.
Yeah.
And my mate Ray Gelato suggested it to me. And it's a sort of biopic of the most decorated war hero from the resistance of Norway. So it's all in Norwegian. There are subtitles. I don't speak Norwegian, oddly enough. And what is clever, it mixes what's going on, which is hair-raising and very frightening and beautifully done, with him as an older man, played by a much older actor, by the way, and at a school or a university being questioned by kids who, of course, didn't experience World War II and are grilling him about being part of the resistance. For the life of me, I can't remember what it's called. You'll see it on Prime.
All right.
Prime on Netflix.
I'll have a look.
It was really good.
No, I like a good documentary.
It was, well, it's an action film.
Oh, it's an action film.
It's an action film, but it's really tense, and you didn't realize how much the Norwegians suffered. I didn't. You know, wasn't big. Right, I must let you go.
Oh, well,
bless you.
Lovely to catch up.
It is very nice to catch up. Very nice indeed. It feels like forever. Chantal Rickards OBE. We will see you, God willing, next week. And that, gang, is it for another week. I've been Russ Kane. You've been absolutely fabulous. I don't know why people say that. Modern comedy is ridiculous. You don't get like, you know, I've been Bob Hope. Thanks for coming. Ridiculous. Bless you all. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your support. Hugely appreciate it. I'll be back Monday with Neil Longy Long and the gang. Until then, try and stay out of trouble.